Please be seated. The sitting is open. The court meets this afternoon to resume hearing the first round of oral argument of Myanmar. I now give the floor back to Ms. Lee Lowry to continue her presentation. You have the floor, Madam.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the court. I resume in the middle of part 2 of my presentation, dealing with locations concerning crimes committed in 2016 only. We start again at location 15, which is Daji Sar. Given this location's proximity to Nha Kuya, Nha Sa Chu, Puen Phu Chong, Yushe Jia, Jay Kak Chong Gua Song, locations 8, 9, 11, 12 and 14, the Gambia's allegations must fairly be considered in the context of the events of mid-November 2016, which I discussed this morning, when the military was involved in armed engagements with ARSA. Evidence which shows that the military was responding to terrorist attacks is that in the immediate aftermath of the 12 to 13 November 2016 armed clashes, the FFM records that a local ethnic Rakhine village administrator negotiated the return of displaced Bengali with the Tatmadaw. In addition, the single witness from the International State Crime Initiative describes how, on their return to the village in November 2016, quote, villagers put up tents to rebuild their community, unquote. And shortly after, the army called Bengali village administrators and elders to a meeting to encourage them to arrest, quote, extremists. None of this fits with a purported pattern of genocidal violence. But for one exception, all the allegations for this location stem from anonymous, hearsay, untested summaries. For the reasons already discussed, no evidential weight can be given to these. The one exception is the evidence gathered by the International State Crime Initiative. But no reliance can be placed on this source for this allegation either. This evidence stems from a single uncorroborated witness who claims that 120 people were killed and many women raped in attacks in 10 October 2016. There is no evidence that there was any form of attack on Daji Sar on this date. The witness is a conspicuous outlier. As regards fatalities, the FFM suggests an unverified figure of 75 deaths. No information is provided about whether any of these individuals were unlawfully killed. In any event, 75 fatalities in a population of around 3,179 does not fit with the narrative of genocide. The Gambia's reply contains no mention of this location at all. Wa Pak is the 16th location. The evidence shows this. Wa Pak lies less than 4 kilometres north of Chikan Pien. Chikan Pien was one of the 3 sites attacked by ARSA on 9 October 2016. On 13 November 2016, ARSA destroyed some 80 houses in Wa Pak. Contemporaneous newspaper reports show how military personnel and police helping locals to extinguish burning homes. Allegations of criminality in Wapak in 2016 must, therefore, be placed in the context of significant terrorist activity in the area, which Myanmar responded to. Only one allegation is made by the Gambia for Wapak, that the Myanmar Defence Services entered the village and killed Bengali villagers. Scrutiny of the underlying source, a newspaper article written by the CEO of Fortify Rights, shows that the Gambia summary is inaccurate. An anonymous individual is reported as saying, quote, "When the soldiers entered the village, they started shooting," unquote. And quote, "I saw them shoot at people as they fled," unquote. The date of this incident appears to be 9 October 2016, the date of the coordinated ARSA attacks. The individual reports shooting but does not report any killings. Clearly, one reasonable interpretation is that what is being described are counter-terrorism operations, where the military's targets were terrorists. Support for this interpretation is provided by the UN Flash report, in which testimonies gathered from villages, including Wapak, all suggest that the, quote, "area clearance operations were in line with a counter-insurgency strategy." Further organisations, including the UN, Fortify Rights and Amnesty International, all refer to the burning of structures in Wapak, but not to any killings. There is evidence that ARSA was responsible for the burning. In terms of sexual violence, it is Myanmar which identifies one solitary, uncorroborated allegation of rape from an anonymous witness for this location in an NGO report. Even if it was accepted that this incident could be proved, a single incident of rape does not support the existence of pervasive sexual violence. Evidence which contradicts the Gambia's narrative is also found in Amnesty International's investigations into events at Wapak. This investigation documented no reports of killing or sexual violence. It also reports that Myanmar ensured the delivery of food supplies to villages, including Wapak, in early November 2016, providing for some 7,200 Bengali, notwithstanding the serious security constraints arising from the ARSA attacks. Mr. President, apologies for interrupting my presentation, but I understand that we do not have control over the slideshow. I'm grateful and apologies for that interruption. I'm moving now to location Dar Peng Se Ya. The sole allegation made for Da Peng Se Ya is of rape committed sometime between October and December 2016. The Gambia fails to explain how this single allegation, even if proven, fits into any purported consistent pattern of conduct. This location does not fall within the area where counter-terrorism operations were conducted following the October 2016 ARSA attacks. Instead, it appears to be, at its highest, an isolated incident. The difficulty which this location poses for the Gambia is evidenced by the fact that it is not mentioned at all in its reply. Drawing my analysis of these 11 locations to a close, again, none of them provide evidence of the Gambia's pattern. There is no evidence of pervasive sexual violence or massive killings on the scale alleged by the Gambia. Events at these locations also take place almost a year before those in August 2017. I move now to analyse the remaining 25 locations mentioned by the Gambia in its written pleadings and its oral hearing last week. These are locations 18 to 41. Location 18 is in Nhang Chong. This location should possibly be included in my 2016 grouping, but given the difficulty in dating the underlying allegations, out of abundance of caution, I have not done so. What can be said for this location is that it is a short distance from Nya Kuya and Nyar Sa Chu, locations 8 and 9 respectively. As I've explained, both were the scene of ARSA activity in October 2016. Nyang Chong was therefore within the area where responsive counter-terrorism operations were conducted. Set against this background are Gambia's two fragmented allegations. First, an anonymous hearsay account of two boys being beaten by soldiers. No more detail is given, but the source means it predates February 2017. Second, an anonymous hearsay account of injury when a house was set on fire by a launcher. No more detail is given. Overlaying this is the highly generalised account of a claimed former soldier that he conducted operations in September 2017 in various villages, including in Nhang Chong, during which killings and rapes took place. Again, no more detail is given. There is no evidence that a single person was killed or that anyone was the subject of sexual violence at this location. No evidence that supports any genocidal pattern. Moving to location 19, Pa Wat Chang. This location lies close to several villages I've already discussed. It also lies close to another village, Jar Kong, which I will come to shortly. This village track was therefore close to ARSA terrorist activity in both late 2016 and 2017, a fact omitted by the Gambia. I have already described ARSA activity in the area in 2016, so I will deal with 2017. The evidence shows this. On 25 August 2017, troops were ambushed near Giang Kang by 250 terrorists. On 6 September, Jar Kang police outpost and village were the scene of another attack involving around 50 terrorists, which resulted in many houses being burned. The Gambia's three allegations for Pa Wat Chong are devoid of detail, including the date. The first allegation is of an assault by soldiers on a village elder said to be connected to the discovery of that elder's decapitated body the next day. Any connection is clearly speculative. The circumstantial evidence points more persuasively to ARSA being responsible, particularly given the nature of the killing. For example, a few weeks later, a Bengali man from nearby Nya Kuya was killed and his decapitated body found in a creek. Amnesty International obtained independent corroboration to substantiate ARSA's involvement in the killing. As I will come to, an informant was beheaded by ARSA in Changchong. The second allegation concerns the alleged rape and murder of a 12-year-old girl by soldiers, which may have occurred, quote, between October and November 2016 and August and September 2017, unquote. It's difficult to respond to such an unspecific allegation, particularly when it emanates from an anonymous, hearsay, untested account. The third allegation is that Pa Wat Chong was a village that was, quote, completely destroyed. No further detail is provided, including when this destruction is said to have occurred or who was responsible. Given the Gambia's reliance on the FFM, of note is that the FFM does not identify Pa Wat Chong as a location where any crimes were committed. In relation to fatalities, the Gambia does not dispute that at most, quote, some 5 people out of a population of 6,000 may have been killed unlawfully in this location. Even if this figure could be proved, it is a small proportion of the population. In short, taking this evidence at its highest, the claims for this location involving a single rape and 5 fatalities do not support the existence of a consistent pattern of conduct involving allegations of extreme brutality repeated throughout northern Rakhine State. Location 20 is Sin Pain Nyar. The evidence shows this. On 26 August 2017, ARSA attacked the Sin Pain Nyar border guard police post. Improvised bombs were thrown by the terrorists, who also planted mines and torched village houses before again attacking the police post. How this location fits into any purported pattern is completely unclear. First, in its reply, the Gambia does not deny that not a single Bengali villager out of a population of 8,229 was harmed in this location during the counter-terrorism operations. Second, the only other mention of Sin Pain Nyar is in the reply as a village that was, quote, completely destroyed. No other details are provided, including when this destruction occurred or who was responsible. That said, it may be that this bare allegation is supposed to be linked back to material annexed to the memorial, in which Amnesty International claimed that, in August 2017, the security services looted building materials and that, quote, they, unquote, were responsible for burning houses. However, this unspecific allegation has to be viewed against the background of the ARSA activity in the area, which included the use of IEDs. Location 21 comprises of 3 settlements of Chain Chown, Don Pak and Redar. These locations lie to the south of Minji. The evidence shows this. ARSA was active in the area in the lead up to 25 August 2017. Its activities included intimidating and killing Bengali. For example, it is reported that an informant was beheaded by ARSA in Changchong. As already mentioned, decapitation of informants appears to be a hallmark of ARSA. A similarly brutal killing of 3 men close to Minji around the same time occurred in Minji a similarly brutal killing of 3 men occurred close to Minji around the same time. On 25 August 2017, the military were ambushed by 200 terrorists at Redar. On 26 August, the military was attacked by 100 ARSA terrorists near Chang Chang. A mine was also detonated. On 28 August, the military was ambushed by some 300 armed ARSA terrorists, again near Chang Chang. 4 allegations of killing and sexual violence are advanced for these settlements. Each allegation stems from anonymous, hearsay, untested, summarised accounts. While all are undated, Myanmar deduces that the allegations also mix timeframes, with those emanating from the FFM, dating from August to September 2017, and those from the February 2017 report predating that. The additional allegations of sexual violence identified by Myanmar also come from, and thus must predate, the February 2017 report. As the counter-terrorism operations were not continuous but responsive, short and interrupted by a period of nearly a year, this temporal mix undermines any argument of any pattern being followed. For the 2017 allegations, the failure to mention any context is seriously misleading. If individual witnesses fail to mention that gun battles involving hundreds of ARSA terrorists were raging in the village, their references to, quote, shooting only by the Myanmar security forces creates a wholly inaccurate picture of what was happening there at that time. In terms of fatalities, Myanmar's initial analysis of the Gambia's evidence indicated that it may have been 4, but on review at most 5. In the Gambia's reply, it did not dispute the 4. Whether the figure is 4 or 5, it is a very small percentage of the total population of this village tract, which was more than 15,000 in August 2017. Moving to location 22, Laung Dong. Like neighbouring Chang Chang, this location was the subject of an ARSA attack on 25 August 2017. The police outpost was attacked by about 200 ARSA terrorists, which prompted the security forces to respond. The Gambia refers to 2 discrete incidents in Laung Dong from apparently 2 different time periods. The first incident, while undated, must predate February 2017 and relates to an anonymous hearsay account of a mass arrest and detention of villagers, during which 1 died. The second is an anonymous hearsay allegation which ostensibly relates to the rape of 10 women by soldiers around 27 August 2017. However, the Gambia misrepresents the evidence. An allegation of rape is only made by 1 individual. Another incident is identified by Myanmar. It boils down to the observation by 2 individuals that on 25 or 26 August 2017, soldiers took 2 women away and brought them back crying. No criminal allegation can properly be founded on such material. Even if some regard is to be paid to it, then of greater significance in a genocide case is that the soldiers were asking where, quote, bad people were. The inference being that their purpose was to search for terrorists who had attacked the police outpost rather than executing a plan to destroy. Indeed, one witness claims that the soldiers said that, quote, this was not our land and we should leave. Myanmar cannot know whether a particular soldier ever did make that comment, but if correct, it would be evidence of an intent to induce people to leave the area, not of an intention to destroy a group. In its reply, the Gambia does not answer or dispute Myanmar's submissions about this location. It simply includes a bare reference to Laung Dong being a village that was completely destroyed. Again, no evidence is provided about when this destruction is said to have occurred or who was responsible. Crucially, the Gambia does not dispute that out of a population of 11,916, the number of Bengali villagers alleged to have been killed unlawfully may be one person. Taking this skeletal evidence at its highest, a single death during a mass arrest conducted prior to February 2017 and a single rape in August 2017 does not support the existence of a consistent pattern of conduct. Location 22 is Naung Dar Kar Lee. ARSA was active in this area. As can be seen on the map, Naung Dar Kar Lee lies close to Sain Pain Nyar. As I have already described, Sain Pain Nyar was the scene of multiple ARSA attacks on 26 August 2017. A full and fair analysis of events in Naung Dar Kar Lee must therefore take account of ARSA's activity in the local environs. The Gambia's allegations for Naung Dar Kar Lee are that one woman, identified only as YA, was repeatedly bitten when raped by 4 soldiers, and that the village was more than 90% destroyed at a time and by persons unknown. Neither withstand scrutiny. YA's claim comes from an Amnesty International report. For the reasons already discussed, no evidential weight can be given to such anonymous, summary, hearsay accounts, while the Gambia tries to broaden the allegation beyond YA to cover 3 other women who were abducted from the same house. No information is given about what, if anything, happened to these other 3. The Gambia also incorrectly attempts to argue that YA gives evidence that, quote, soldiers entered the village and shot at the Rohingya civilians who were trying to flee, unquote. What she is actually recorded as saying is that, quote, as villagers tried to run away, soldiers opened fire, unquote. She did not say that the soldiers shot at civilians who were trying to flee. To support its claim that this village was more than 90% destroyed by fire, the Gambia relies on satellite imagery dated 24 October 2017, which is almost 2 months after residents are said to have left the village. In the absence of any evidence about when or who burned the village, this image takes the Gambia nowhere. In sum, there is no evidence of any killing at this location, and the only evidence of sexual violence is a single incident of rape to which no evidential weight can be attached. The 24th location is Paung Da Pien. As with all the locations I have dealt with, Paung Da Pien and its surroundings were the scene of intense ARSA activity. When addressing the court on events in Maung Nu, Mr. Blom-Cooper described the ARSA attacks which took place in this location, and I won't repeat this evidence. Only one allegation is made for this location. It comes from a single anonymous source that soldiers killed 40 people in this village on 26 August 2017, the date coming from Myanmar's own interrogation of the underlying evidence. Clearly, if true, the killing of 40 people is a significant incident. but it is not mentioned by any other person or source. The absence of any corroboration for this allegation gives rise to serious credibility and reliability concerns, such that no reliance can properly be placed on it. No other allegations arise for this location, and it's not mentioned by the Gambia in its reply at all. Location 25 is Chin Tam Mar. This is south of Maung Nu. Again, the ARSA attacks which took place in and around Maung Nu have already been described by Mr. Blom-Cooper this morning, and I won't repeat the evidence. For this location, the Gambia cites to a UN report which refers to an alleged rape of a woman and an assault upon her husband by the Myanmar Defence Services. Myanmar notes that the same UN report contains additional allegations of killings by gunfire and the rape of around 10 or 20 women in this village, albeit these attract no comment by the Gambia. For the reasons already discussed, little evidential weight can be given to accounts from this source. The Gambia's reply does not mention this location at all. The 26th location is Maung Ji Town, which is another village south of Maung Nu. Again, as Mr. Blom-Cooper has explained, this was in an area of ARSA terrorist activity, which attracted a counter-terrorism response. The Gambia makes two allegations for this location: that children were thrown in the river and that 13 females were gang raped. Myanmar identifies a further two: another allegation of gang rape of one individual and an allegation that 25 men were arrested and beaten. None are said to have been killed. All the allegations come from the FFM report. For the reasons discussed, no evidential weight can be given to that source. In addition, when the claims are interrogated, the difficulties in placing any reliance on them or fitting them into a pattern become clear. Specifically, the allegations concerning the children and the group arrests are undated, while one allegation of rape may date from 2016 and the other from August 2017. The alleged rape of 13 women is actually the account of a single individual, with no information provided about what happened to the other 12. Overall, there is no evidence that any unlawful killings took place in this village. The Gambia does not mention this location in the reply. Location 27 comprises two villages, Kong Tang and Miao Na. Given their proximity to Maung Nu, events in these two villages must be considered against the backdrop of the ARSA activity in that area already described by Mr. Blom-Cooper. Kong Tang and Miao Na are each mentioned only once by the Gambia. Each mention appears to be designed to shock, with the shock value obscuring the low evidential value of the allegations. In Kong Tang, the Gambia alleges that the, quote, Tatmadaw abducted girls, cut their breasts and vaginas and beheaded them, unquote. This allegation comes from an anonymous response to a questionnaire. Clearly, no evidential weight can be given to this uncorroborated snippet of purported evidence. Myanmar draws the court's attention to the only other mention of Kong Tang, which relates to an anonymous hearsay account of rapes on unspecified dates and mistreatment in prison. No killing at any stage is alleged in this account. The single reference to Miao Na is taken from the FFM report and relates to babies' bodies floating in the water. The unknown man describing the scene is said to come from Myanmar, but it is not known where and when he made the observation, nor how the babies came to be in the water. In any event, and for the reasons already discussed, no evidential weight can be given to any of these anonymous, hearsay, untested accounts. This is another location not mentioned in the reply. Location 28 is Jinma Chang Tong. Events in this location in 2017 can only be understood when considered alongside events in neighbouring villages, including Tinganet, Nha Yan Chang, Kontong, and Sutong, all of which Mr. Blom-Cooper has already described. What events in these nearby locations show is that ARSA was highly active in this area. The single allegation advanced by the Gambia for this location concerns the killing of 3 women and a baby, including a mother in labour, which derives from the anonymous, untested hearsay summary of witness CK243. While the allegation is shocking, it also contains the plainly incorrect claim that, quote, almost the entire village died. The military killed everybody. There is no evidence to support this claim. LAW obtained 5 other accounts about events in this village. While witness CK0501 refers to the alleged killing of 2 women by soldiers, none of the other witnesses describe killings. Instead, they refer to male rapes in January 2017. The other accounts also refer to arrests and detention by the Myanmar Defence Services, a fact that runs counter to the contention of a genocidal intent. For the reasons already discussed, no evidential weight can be given to any of these anonymous, hearsay, untested accounts. This location is not mentioned in the Gambia's reply. Location 29 is Town Bazaar. As with Jinma Chang Tong, events in this village in 2017 can only be understood when considered alongside events, including ARSA activity in the neighbouring villages. In its memorial, the Gambia relies on 2 witnesses for this location. The claimed former soldier, Myo Win Tun, purportedly of the 565 Light Infantry Regiment, and Legal Action Worldwide witness number 14. Given these sources, no evidential weight can be given to their evidence. The serious problems with Myo Win Tun have already been discussed by Dr. Staker, not least that his claim that the number 565 Light Infantry Regiment was deployed in Town Bazaar between 25 August and 29 October 2017 is clearly untrue, a fact corroborated by other sources. It is against this background that his allegation that Battalion 565 shot people, burned the whole village, and that the 2 senior commanders raped 3 to 4 women and afterwards ordered the troops to rape these women too have to be considered. Similarly, the serious problems affecting statements produced by Legal Action Worldwide, including witness number 14's statement, have also been discussed by Dr. Staker. Witness number 14's identification of Myo Win Tun as participating in the, quote, clearance operations is highly questionable, as no one, including this court, knows what video footage he was shown. The solitary reference to town bazaar in the reply relates to an uncorroborated, anonymous, hearsay allegation of sexual violence perpetrated against a male in January 2017. Even taking this allegation at its highest, it relates to events unconnected to the counter-terrorism operations. It therefore cannot form part of any alleged consistent pattern of conduct during those operations. Location 30 is Tin Bo Gui. This location lies between Chok Pan Du, location 4, and Indin, location 6. The evidence shows this. In 2017, there were accounts of an ARSA group staying in the jungle to the east of the village. Members of the group were armed and wore uniforms. On 25 August 2017, ARSA attacked both border guard police posts in Tin Bo Gui and in the nearby village of Tin Win Chau. The outpost in Tin Bo Gui was attacked by about 250 armed ARSA terrorists. The Gambia's evidence for this location is confused. The one allegation made in the memorial of the rape of a woman and the killing of her husband appears to have occurred in Chut Pyin. Regardless of location, no reliance can be placed on it because it is at core an anonymous, hearsay, summarised account written in the third person about an undated incident. In the reply, the Gambia mistakenly attributes 2 allegations of rape to Indin. The allegations actually relate to Tin Bo Gui, this location. Both rape allegations come from 2 Legal Action Worldwide witnesses. For the reasons already discussed by Dr. Staker, no evidential weight can be placed on these sources of evidence. The only other allegation that is made in the reply for this location is that it was completely destroyed. No evidence is provided about when this destruction is said to have occurred or who was responsible. In summary, there is no evidence of any killings at this location and no evidence to support a conclusion of pervasive sexual violence in this locality during the counter-terrorism operations. Location 30 is Palake. This village is located near Chut Pyin. Mr. Blom-Cooper has already dealt with ARSA activity in and around Chut Pyin. I will not repeat it, particularly because it may not be relevant for the reasons I'm about to explain. The Gambia's presentation of the evidence for this location is misleading, as it leaves the impression that an incident took place in this village. However, the source of the allegation that women were mistreated and killed at a school comes from a male from Palake. The anonymous hearsay account does not identify the date, time, or even the location of the alleged criminality. Without this information, it's meaningless. The reality is that the Gambia does not show any criminal act of any type that it occurred at any time in Palake. This location, therefore, does not form part of any alleged pattern. Unsurprisingly, it's not mentioned in the reply. Location 32 is Go Du Ta Ya. The evidence shows this. On 26 August 2017, at about 6 p.m.
Le 26 août 2017, vers 18h, environ 200 terroristes et collaborateurs.
The confusion of translation. So please check your channel. Thank you.
My apologies, Mr. President.
Continue.
On 26 August 2017, at about 6 p.m, some 200 ARSA terrorists and collaborators fired upon 16 police officers near to the Go-To Ta-Ya police outpost and set off 3 mines. Some 20 minutes later, there was another ARSA attack on the police outpost. In September, November and December 2017, there were around 26 arrests in Go-To Ta-Ya. 2 allegations derived from the FFM are made by the Gambia for this location. For the reasons already discussed, no evidential weight can be given to this source. Even setting aside those deficiencies, no reliance can be placed on the allegations. The first allegation is an anonymous hearsay account of a 12-year-old boy who claims to have found, on a date unknown, the burnt bodies of family members, and to have seen the bodies of other people who had been, quote, shot, stabbed and burned. The excerpt proceeds without any context. Taken at face value, even if true, the account simply shows that the witness found bodies. No evidence is provided by either this witness or any other source about what happened in the village. The second allegation is that Myanmar conducted, quote, massive terrain clearance, including in Go-To Ta-Ya. However, the satellite imagery analysis referred to by the FFM is not made available to Myanmar or the court. The satellite imagery from January and February 2018, published by the FFM, is meaningless when provided in a vacuum. No evidence is provided about when the structures were destroyed, when they were rebuilt, what the newly rebuilt structures are, who rebuilt them, and for what purpose. These questions are important. Burning was perpetrated by Bengali on the orders of ARSA's leader, a fact which the Gambia doesn't dispute. No allegations of sexual violence are made for this location. The 33rd location is Labadang. This location is not included on any map, as while the allegation made by the Gambia refers to this location being in Buthidaung, the only location presently known by this name is in Mongdo. The one allegation made for this location by the Gambia emanates from a health survey. In the memorial, the Gambia states that, quote, a witness from Labadang in Buthidaung township saw the military take the men aside and kill them all, unquote. Scrutiny of the underlying evidence provides no further assistance, not even when this is said to have happened. What it does make clear, though, is that the identification of the perpetrators as, quote, the military, unquote, comes from the Gambia. In the extract of the witness's evidence included in the report, the witness simply refers to the perpetrators as they. No allegations of sexual violence are made for this location. No mention is made of this location by the Gambia in its reply. Location 34 is at Hang Cha Mi Guleng. According to the witness relied on by the Gambia, this location is in Buthidaung township. No map has been produced for this location because no location is presently known by this name in that township. The Gambia's allegation of the mass killing of males in this village is based on untested, anonymous, summarised reports written in the third person, apparently emanating from 2 individuals. No date is given for one account, save 2017. While the allegations are clearly appalling, their shock value alone does not render them credible and reliable. For the reasons already explained, no evidential weight can be given to these anonymous, hearsay, untested summaries. Of note is that both accounts allude to a wider context. CK0156's account begins with what appears to be an oblique acceptance that an armed battle had at least been taking place before the Myanmar Defence Services entered the village. She describes the day when, quote, the fighting began. Similarly, TS0804 explains that, quote, it was at about 3 a.m. when she awoke to the sound of gunfire. The shooting was coming from the direction of the military camp. Both accounts therefore indicate that events in the village cannot simply be considered as the unilateral use of force by the Myanmar Defence Services. The 35th location is Kon Thi Phin. The evidence shows this. According to a mullah from this location, quote, on the night of the 25th, the violence started. He explains that the Myanmar Defence Services response was to detain 50 women and children at a local camp. They were all later released unharmed. The attack on the military by the locals is corroborated by another self-identified, quote, Rohingya witness from near Kon Thi Phin. Arrests were made in the village on 25 August and a few days later. Notwithstanding that this location was the scene of terrorism and counter-terrorism operation, it merits only one mention in the memorial and is the subject of a broad, unspecific, catch-all allegation in the reply. The one mention in the memorial concerns the account of an anonymous individual that soldiers allegedly mutilated and killed one man with knives after shooting her son. For the reasons already explained, no evidential weight can be given to these anonymous, hearsay, untested accounts taken from NGO reports. The only mention in the reply is that during, quote, verified additional clearance operations, various locations, including Kon Thi Phin, saw serious human rights violations against Rohingya, unquote. This allegation emanates from the FFM report and thus suffers from the same evidential difficulties and deficiencies already described by Dr. Staker. In addition, no information is provided about what human rights violations are alleged to have occurred or who perpetrated them. Without more information, this statement could simply encompass allegations already stated elsewhere. No allegations of sexual violence are made for this location. The 36th location is Tanman Tar. The evidence shows this. Tanman Tar was an area with a strong ARSA presence. Uniformed men with petrol bombs identified as Al-Yaqin were seen in the area on 25 August and tried to kill those who sought to dissuade their members. Al-Yaqin engaged in forcible recruitment, threatening to decapitate those who refused to join, decapitation being an apparent hallmark of ARSA retribution, as I've already mentioned. Violent confrontations between ARSA and the security forces took place in this area and its surroundings in August 2017. The court has already heard about the violence in Kon Thi Phin, Khamon Sek and Minji. In Taman Tar, on 25 August, the local police outpost was attacked by terrorists, leaving one person dead. The following day, 100 ARSA terrorists attacked officers affiliated to the Tamantar police post with improvised bombs. A similar picture emerges in neighbouring Titona village. Al-Yaqin was present in this village and instigated violence by bombing and killing local villagers. Against this background is a single allegation that 3 charred bodies were found in this village. The allegation emanates from the FFM report. For the reasons already discussed, no evidential weight can be given to this source. In addition, the account reveals nothing about the circumstances in which the 3 people died, including the date or the identities of the perpetrators. The evidence certainly does not establish that the deaths were caused by the Myanmar Defence Services. The Gambia does not explain how this allegation, even if proven, could possibly constitute evidence of a consistent pattern of conduct. As with the previous location of Kanti Pien, Tamantar is mentioned in the reply as being the scene of serious human rights violations against Bengali during so-called verified additional clearance operations. This sweeping allegation completely lacks specificity and thus cannot be relied on for the problems I've already mentioned. This location also does not feature any allegations of sexual violence. The 37th location is Do'o Telma in Boothidong Township. Events in this location in 2017 require to be considered in the context of ARSA's activities in the surrounding area, including in Chut Pien, mentioned by Mr. Blom-Cooper already. The Gambia alleges that soldiers, quote, kicked to death the very elderly and frail mother of a witness in this village. Clearly, this allegation is reprehensible. But when the underlying summary from which it originates is checked, it is shown to be a misrepresentation. Now, setting aside the fundamental problems with relying on this type of evidence for a moment, the assault appears to have been a single kick, causing the victim to fall backwards. The victim was then observed to be, quote, sore from being kicked, but otherwise, quote, still alive. About 2 hours later, the woman died, with the witness noting that she, quote, didn't know how she died, but can only assume that it was as a result of being kicked, unquote. Now, while an inference can be drawn about, or may be drawn about causation, in the absence of further evidence, it cannot be said that the alleged assault caused the old woman's death. It certainly cannot be said the elderly lady was, quote, kicked to death, unquote. It also cannot be fairly and reasonably said that a single kick, if proven, forms part of a pattern of genocidal violence. No allegation of sexual violence is made for this location. No mention of this location is made in the Gambia's reply. The next 3 locations, locations 38, 39 and 40, are linked by the Gambia's claim that they were the scene of, quote, extreme brutality, sexual violence and destruction, despite the fact that there were no ARSA operations there. As I'm going to show, both aspects of the Gambia's claims are wrong. First, ARSA was active in and around all 3 locations. Second, there is no credible and reliable evidence that any of these locations were the scene of such violence. So turning to the first of the 3, location 38, which is Colour de Pac. Claim 1 by the Gambia is wrong. ARSA killed 5 Dainyet villagers in Kalerde Pak in late 2017. Claim 2 is also wrong. The Gambia's only allegation for this village is that it was destroyed by fire. To prove this, the Gambia provides 2 satellite images dated 26 December 2016 and 24 October 2017. No further evidence is provided, including who may have been responsible for this fire damage or when it occurred, save for the long stop date of October 2017. No evidence is provided that any damage occurred before the village ceased to be inhabited. This is clearly insufficient to discharge the Gambia's high burden of proof. Moving to location 38, Tapieto. The Gambia confuses 2 different villages with the same name. I will therefore deal with both locations. So Tapieto is being counted as 2 locations. Regardless of whichever village the Gambia wishes to refer to, none of its claims are correct. Dealing with the village in Mongdo Township first. As can be seen on the map, this Tapieto lies between the villages of Alel Tenchao, location 2, and Myen Hlut, location 3. As I've already described, ARSA was engaged in serious terrorist activity in both these villages. The single allegation for Tapieto in Mongdo comes not from the Gambia, but the FFM. The allegation is that military personnel set fire to houses in the village and that an 80-year-old woman who was unable to run died in the fire. For the reasons already discussed, no evidential weight can be given to this second-hand account of what an anonymous person is reported to have said to the FFM. In any event, even if true, this evidence does not support the conclusion that this single tragic death was the result of an intentional killing by soldiers. It does not fit the Gambia's claimed pattern. Turning to the other village with the same name, but in Rathidong Township. This Tapieto lies close to Chut Pyin. Mr. Blom-Cooper has already dealt with ARSA in Chut Pyin, the short point being that ARSA was active in this area. Based on 2 satellite images, the sole allegation relates to fire damage in this village, but no evidence is provided that such damage was caused by the Myanmar Defence Services. No evidence is provided about when, before 26 December 2017, the damage was caused. No evidence is provided that it was caused at a time when the village was inhabited. Again, in respect of both villages with the name Tapieto, the Gambia fails to discharge its high burden of proof. Location 40 is Peperchang. Claim 1 by the Gambia is wrong. ARSA was engaged in serious terrorist activity near this village. Peperchang lies close to Tinganet. Ngayantchang, Kontong, Sutong, and Maunu. Mr. Blom-Cooper has already discussed ARSA's activities in and around these locations. Claim 2 is also wrong. The Gambia presents no evidence of any violence by the Myanmar Defence Services against any person in Peperchang. Based on the inclusion of 2 satellite images in the reply, the Gambia's sole allegation relates to fire damage in this village. All that can reasonably be taken from these images is that this village appears to have been damaged by fire at some point between 16 January 2017 and 20 December 2017. There is no evidence the damage was caused by the Myanmar Defence Services, or that such damage was caused at a time when the village was inhabited. Again, the Gambia fails to discharge its high burden of proof. The final location is Nya Yant Chau in Buthidaung. As Mr. Blom-Cooper has already mentioned, on 25 August 2017, the Border Guard police post in Nya Yant Chau village tract was attacked by ARSA. In oral submissions, the Gambia alleges that this location was the scene of rapes combined with the killing of children and where sexual violence was perpetrated in public. These allegations emanate from the FFM and so lack evidential weight for the reasons already given. Mr. President, members of the Court, I conclude with the following 3 points. First, while the crux of the Gambia's case is that the Myanmar Defence Services conducted operations in hundreds of Bengali villages across Rakhine State pursuant to the same consistent pattern of conduct, the Gambia at most mentions a total of 46 locations in support of its claim. Secondly, Myanmar's careful analysis of all these locations shows that there is no consistent pattern of conduct. Specifically, the analysis of the 42 locations just undertaken demonstrates 1. No allegations of any form of sexual violence in 17 locations. That's almost half. 2. No killings in 12 locations, a quarter. 3. 11 locations only concern events in 2016. 4. A single allegation involving a single victim is made for 3 locations. 5. No allegation of any criminality is made for 1 location. The third point, in conclusion, is that the arrival of Myanmar's defence forces at the locations just described in 2016 and 2017 was not, quote, an amazing coincidence, as the Gambia put it last week. Nor is it Myanmar's position that it, quote, accidentally attacked 76 different sites at the same time. Such statements by the Gambia are not serious. Rather, Myanmar's location-by-location analysis shows that if there was any pattern of conduct, it was of responsive, targeted and time-limited action by security forces against violence by ARSA. Mr. President, members of the Court, that concludes my presentation. I thank you for your kind attention and for your patience. May I now invite you to call on Dr. Staker, who will address the subject matter of Chapter 10 of Myanmar's written pleadings, namely alleged discriminatory laws and policies, unless, Mr. President, you might think it was an opportune moment for the coffee break.
I thank Ms. Lowry for her presentation. Indeed, before I give the floor to the next speaker, the Court will observe a break of 15 minutes. The sitting is suspended.